Hey dorks, just a quick message reminding you to head over to twitch.tv/mindgappodcast and give us a follow. We live stream when we record our new podcast episodes, and we're live streaming video game sessions on Saturday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We're playing super rad stuff like Among Us, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, Jackbox games, and Tabletop Simulator. Come hang out and play along with us. That's twitch.tv/mindgappodcast. Mind Gap Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin.
And boy, do we have a couple of wonderful guests this week joining us all the way.
Oh, Doug! You gotta introduce him! This is what Ritchie does to Wayne, so I'm doing this to
Oh,
Doug
gotcha.
now.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. Joining us all the way from the UK, from the You Haven't Heard This Music podcast, please welcome Ritchie and Eimear. Justin wasn't quite ready, but he got there. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Welcome, Ritchie, Eimear. How are you?
Oh, I can't even begin to explain how happy I am to be here. This is a moment I don't think I'll ever forget. I'll take this to my grave.
Wow, that is high praise. You know what? That just made my day.
On his tombstone, it will say, was once a guest on Mind Gap Podcast.
Yeah, right?
All right, yeah.
I've come out into the field just to be here today.
For those that are listening, Ritchie has an amazing green screen behind him, and it just looks phenomenal.
Oh, did you say in case you're listening? I was going to say, because they can't see it.
Yeah, so for the
I forget your podcast also.
Yeah. Eimear, how are you?
I'm good. I can't compete with that.
Well, that's okay. We're so glad you're here.
I'm also happy to be here.
So you are two of a trio of the You Haven't Heard This Music podcast. We are missing Wayne, to which we say, Wayne, we miss you.
Eat a dick and die.
And, it's a real sadness that you aren't here with us today, and, we miss you. So thank you, Wayne.
I'll still stick with Eat a dick and die.
If you've never listened to their podcast before, it is just a love fest. They just compliment each other nonstop. Nothing but just adoration and respect.
Positivity.
Yep.
Yeah. It's positive vibes only. You haven't heard this music podcast.
It has been a bit more since Eimear's joined.
What does Eimear bring that makes it so positive? What does she bring to the table?
That hair.
Go on. It was a mullet a couple months ago. It's taken a while to get here.
It was a mullet. See, now you're talking about where I came from,
Now you're talking Doug's language.
Now you're talking Missouri language, which is like mullet central.
Yeah.
Well, we're so glad you're here.
I outfit with like a wife beater and jeans and everything. It was great.
Yeah, it's a look. I was about to say it's a good look, but it's a look. It's.
She looks like she's going to go and cause a football riot somewhere now.
There you go. Right.
That's awesome.
Some kid called me Pennywise. That was great.
I don't think they understand who Pennywise is. Pennywise doesn't have multicolored hair.
So I just went, rawr.
There you go. You should be like, hey, you want this balloon? And hand him a red balloon,
Lean into it. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Hey, come on down to the sewer grate. Let's take a look and see what's in there.
Float. They all float.
We all float down there. You know what I mean? And then you push them in. Yeah, that's taking a joke too far. But we'll definitely do this again at the end of the episode. But please, if people want to listen to You Haven't Heard This Music podcast, where can they do that? Where can they find you? What are all the details?
That's
Go on, Eimear. Tell them.
I can't
you can leave that to me.
The abbreviation.
YHHTMPC on Google. Just sit there and Google. We own that corner of Google. YHHTMPC. You Haven't Heard This Music podcast on everything. Or YHHTMPC.com.
Nice.
You
Very
can find
cool.
us there. We focus on lesser known music by lesser known artists and give them a platform to be heard. That's what we do.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's actually how I kind of got started with the podcast. They heard
Awesome.
my music and they invited me on the show.
Oh, that's
Now
awesome.
I've completely integrated myself.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, she's like a parasite.
Yeah, and it's just growing.
Yep.
I'm getting more and more comfortable, so be careful.
That's phenomenal. And it's seriously, if you haven't heard the podcast, check it out.
Yeah.
They do a really good job of celebrating lesser known artists and showcasing them every week. And it really runs the gamut of everything. So if you're looking for something new, something unusual, definitely check them out. It's a really fun show.
Doug and I have had the pleasure and honor of being on twice as guests, and both times I walked away with, again, music that I would have never been introduced to, and every single song that we listened to, reviewed, and talked about, I enjoyed. So like I walked away with, I think in total, between that Lost episode and then the other two, I walked away with like 9 or 10 brand new songs that I was like, this is fantastic.
And for the folks in the Discord who are wondering where we got Shoot the Ship Down from, it was from You Haven't Heard This Music podcast, where we listened to the Celtic metal, I believe it was what it was, and it was a delight.
Oh, you've been playing that, have you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's amazing.
Oh.
All right. Well, before we get into this, let's go through a little bit of housekeeping. First things first, if you don't already, please follow MindGap Podcast on Spotify and everywhere else you get your podcast, but specifically be sure to check us out on Spotify. Second, don't forget to join our Discord server. Just head over to twitch.tv/MindGapPodcast. In the bottom in our About section, you'll find a little thing that says Discord. Click on that button. Join our community. We're a bunch of nerds who just, share stupid memes and talk about all sorts of nerdy stuff. And we get together for video games, which has been one of the best things in the world for me, because I didn't have a group of people to play games with, and now I do. It's so much fun. So come hang out with us. You're welcome. Next, don't forget, we also have MindGap merch on redbubble.com. Head over to Redbubble, just search for MindGap Podcast. You'll find our classic logo there, as well as the I Will Haunt Your Butt. Beautiful little cute ghost merch available on just about anything you can imagine. So head on over there, get yourself something cool, and support the podcast. And also, don't forget, Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time, we host a video game stream on twitch.tv/MindGapPodcast. I pick a game out every week, and we do something silly. This last Saturday was Jackbox Games. We had a wonderful time, being silly, being nuts. And this Saturday, Justin, do you know what's coming this Saturday?
Oh, I think I do.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This Saturday, we're heading back into the dungeon for Dungeons & Dragons, the fantasy board game, starring Justin as Miley, the Elven Wizard. We've got Eric as Josen, the Cleric. We've got Sam as Regdar, the Fighter. And, of course, Jared, coming all the way from down under, as Lita the Rogue. They will continue their adventure and see if they can survive and potentially level up. I forget what adventure you're on, but who knows? It could be interesting.
9?
No, I think 9's when you level up, but I don't know if you're there. I think
8?
I think you might be on 8, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Dungeon Karens are back at it again. So this Saturday, 8 p.m. Central, come join us, watch us as things get fun. So
as the Dungeon Karens go back into the dungeon and demand to see the manager.
That's right. That's what's going to happen, because that's always what happens. Hello, Robin's Twitch. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. So now that that's out of the way, we've got Ritchie and Eimear here, and you're very musically oriented. Just kind of curious, Eimear, we were kind of talking a little bit before we went live. You play a little music. Ritchie, I think you used to play music. Like, what's your musical background? What do you what do you all do? Where do you come from? What do you know how to play?
My main love is percussion and drums, but I play a bit of piano as well, a bit of classical piano. I've always loved music, and I've always loved being in bands, and I understand how hard it is for artists because I've been there. So we kind of wanted to create a platform for artists, and yeah, that's me.
It's cool. How about you, Eimear?
I'm a singer-songwriter and producer. I'm multi-instrumentalist and this kind of thing. So I started off as a songwriter, and then when I was going to college or university, I was thinking about studying songwriting, but then I was like, well, I've been writing songs my whole life anyway. So I got into music production, so more like behind the scenes kind of stuff. So now I release music under the name EMR. And yes, I'm building on that. I want to like produce for other people. And then I'm a sound designer now, so all things nerdy when it comes to music. So that's me.
That's awesome. That's really
I love
cool.
that.
So when you talk about sound design, like what does that encompass?
So basically, when you're watching movies or TV shows or video games, like it could be anything like from the characters walking and like the footstep noises that makes. So it's recording that. And then it's like choosing music for soundtracks and that kind of thing. So I'm working with an American educational company right now. So it's been so fun. So I get to do that actually. I do a mean dolphin impression. And so it's like and I showed it to them. So now they've asked me to voice like little like characters and stuff. So I'm thriving. I'm like in my element.
Oh my god.
So it's fun.
What
Yeah.
so what are some of the things that you've recorded for like sound design? Like what are like do you have a library of stuff you've recorded?
Yeah, pretty much. So I just kind of pick things up as I go along. Like I have loads of like little whimsical little like noise making things. So I like to like find them and then just kind of like sounds and stuff. And it's kind of what I really love about sound design is that it makes you think about things differently because all of a sudden you're not looking at an object like what is it? It's hey, what could that sound like? You know? So
Right.
like I had a lecture once in Pulse College, and this woman came in and she showed us these like high heel shoes that she was wearing, and she was walking on this piece of wood, and she was like, "These are Ned Stark's shoes from Game of Thrones." We were like, "What?" So
That's all right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. So
that's
pretty much
amazing.
sound design. So I'm really happy to be getting into it.
You know, Justin fancies himself a little bit of a sound designer as well. Justin, you got a catalog of stuff. You want to show Eimear what we got?
Sure, absolutely. So this is like if a tornado was like ripping through, like let's say an open plain, it might sound something like this, right? Or like let's say hypothetically, you were in the middle of a big sword fight, it might sound something like this. Or maybe I don't know,
like in the stomach, isn't it? That's been stabbed straight in the stomach.
Exactly. See, you get it. You can picture it if you close your eyes. Yeah, exactly. Or, maybe a nice coffee shop. You're sitting and you're having a conversation and just in the background you hear,
oh, coffee's done. Latte.
Coffee's done. Yep. That was order up. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, order up. That's what it was. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we've been
a really good example of sound design.
It's what I do. It's a passion.
It's like we're kind of one note in a lot of ways, but you'd be surprised how much we can just sort of we could sort of force that that sound into any sort of creative process. It's amazing how it works.
Definitely sounds like forcing something.
There you go. There you go.
Robin's Twitch wants to know if you can also sing, Eimear. Are you a vocalist?
Yes, I can. Yeah, you can check out my Spotify or like wherever it's the initials EMR. Because my name is Eimear and it's an Irish name, but like when I was saying Pro Tool sessions, it just kind of started taking.
Is Eimear a common name?
It's not a name. That's not a name.
It is a name. Excuse me, I called it. But there's actually
never
this, like,
heard of
underground war between Eimears. Well,
I've never heard the name Eimear in my life.
Yeah, that's a very British thing to say. You wouldn't know much about Ireland, like.
That's amazing. That's hilarious.
America. But there's this whole underground war between Eimears. So so the way I spell it, EIMEAR, and the other spelling is EMER. So obviously I believe that's wrong. But I met this girl at a music festival and she was so friendly. We were having a good chat. She was like, "Oh, like what's your name?" I was like, "Oh, I'm Eimear." She's like, "How'd you spell it?" I was like, "Oh, EIMER." And she goes, "You're stupid." I was like completely out of nowhere. She's like, "Yeah, you spell your name wrong. You're stupid. I used to think you were right, but my friend's called EMER, so you're wrong." I'm just like,
oh boy.
Well, it's funny because that stuff just is rooted in some long-standing feuds, right? Like my last name is Cochran with an E, but there's Cochrans without an E, and it's like when I see a Cochran without the E, I'm like, that's gross, that's nasty. Like, why'd you take it off? It's because at one point, two clans of Cochran, a clan of Cochran disagreed. They're like, "We don't like you so much, we're gonna change the way we spell this." And it's like, like that was the big deal back then. It's like, so we're gonna sound the same, but we're not spelled the same. You get out, and that's how it's
bit of American history. In between the Revolutionary War and the Civil War, there was a very short-lived small war in Missouri between the two Cochran factions, the E's and the not E's, and it got real bloody.
You were naughty.
Tens of people were killed.
Tens of people.
Funny story, actually. Obviously, you know me as Ritchie, and every time anybody asks how it's spelled, I insist you stick a T in there, Ritchie. That's how you spell it. And if they don't put a T in, I correct them. It's not even my fucking name. My name's Richard.
Feels right.
It's one of the things that drives me nuts is I always want to spell and pronounce people's names the right way, and when I get it wrong, I feel horrible. And so when someone doubles down on that and is like, "Hey, by the way, my name is spelled like this," I'm like, "I'm sorry, I failed you. I tried, but I didn't know." It cuts me deeply.
Especially when you try.
Yeah, especially when I'm trying. So
I think the war of the underground war of the Eimers, though, I think that sounds like that's like a young adult novel. Like I feel like you could franchise that, write it out, and actually have like a whole turn it into movies, which you could then sound design. You know,
right?
There's a lot of potential there.
Groups. We can actually have EMER versus EIMEAR. How do I spell my own name? And then we could like make like merch, and then you buy T-shirts depending on which spelling you're behind.
It's like Team Edward, Team Jacob. It's now it's Team Eimear or Team Eimear.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you consider an American name? Obviously, Eimear's Irish. What would you consider an American classic name?
There's John.
Trey.
Adam.
No, that's English. That's
English.
Well, I guess okay. You want like an American name, right? You're talking like suburban white name because you got things like
Travis or Trey. I think
Hayden,
right. Tristan,
Bryce,
Bryce.
Yeah,
Bryce. Oh yeah,
Chad.
Absolutely. Chad is definitely that's a dude bro name from the West Coast.
Yeah, if you say
that's
Chad,
California.
like when we would do improv, like if we named someone, we're like, "Hey, check it out, it's Chad." We knew immediately who that person was. They're like, "What's up, bro?
Like this, bro? No
What's
way.
up, bro? Yeah. I'm gonna ride the waves, bro. You know? Oh,
let's get some fish tacos, and then we're gonna go cut some fucking waves, bro.
Yeah, man.
It's more like a Brad. Brad would be a surfer dude.
Yeah.
Oh, Brad's a good one.
Would be like the ultimate combo.
Yeah, there's like these invented names.
Hey, man.
There's these invented names that always just like make me feel
like Eimear. That's an invented name.
That's see that one is like, oh cool, yeah. I mean, I've recently talked to like there's Eimear and there was someone else, another Irish name, and I already forgotten it because the way it was spelled to me, I was like, I don't know how that's supposed to be. I don't know how that's supposed to sound.
Yeah.
But actually, there's a name. I'm gonna spell it for you. If you can maybe tell me how it's pronounced, it's EIRLYS.
Pretty sure you just made that up.
EIRLYS?
Yeah.
Erlise?
Erlise?
Well, I don't think in the
Erlise.
Irish there actually is there's no Y in the Irish alphabet.
Okay. I don't know if that's Irish, but that's someone who's in the UK who's their name is that, and I don't know how to.
Erlise. Erlise, put the kettle on, Erlise.
Erlise, you get down here right now doing laundry.
What?
That sounds Texas to me. I don't know.
Right?
Erlise,
you said it.
It does.
Come scrub your britches in the wash basin.
Oh God, no.
Fucking hell, Erlise, you chugging dog shit. Fucking everywhere.
Last time you've been in the bath, it must have been Tuesday last. You know, just something like that.
Erlise.
Yeah, a little something like that.
Oh, amazing. Whew. Wow. So you all have musical backgrounds, and I'm curious, especially you with the podcast, you support independent artists, and obviously Eimear with what you're doing. You grew up playing and sort of writing this sort of content. I'm curious about your thoughts about just in general, kind of like how piracy kind of works, or maybe more specifically with Twitch. Twitch has gone through a lot of, it's been getting punched around a lot lately because they were grossly promoting that people just play music on their streams, right? They're like, yeah, put a Spotify list together, play it on your stream while you're playing for 5 hours, do it. Like they were all for it. And then of course, over the last few months, those music companies didn't appreciate that, and they brought the hammer down. And they came in, and basically everyone, if you play any sort of music that's not licensed, you get strikes. Then also it will automatically have AI in here that will mute the sections of the videos, and that's incumbent upon the streamer to actually sort of mitigate that. So I'm curious, from your perspective, how do you feel about things like Twitch, where people have the ability to play music And, same thing with like YouTube, like being an artist, what are your thoughts on that? How does it make you feel to know that someone may grab your music and just play it, on their stream or however they feel about it?
Well, I think that it's kind of like there's two sides to it because on the one hand, it can be really great for like people seeing your content and stuff and getting out there, and all it takes is kind of one stream to go off and everything, and then like or like one TikTok to go viral or something, and then like people start knowing your name. But the problem is that that doesn't correlate to royalties or to payment and stuff. And like I just think that there needs to be a general change in the industry because like I wrote it down because there's this songwriter Fiona Bevan. She's written hits for like One Direction, for Lewis Capaldi, and she has to drive an Uber. Like you have hit songwriters that can't make a living because of this. But like I think the way forward is if so basically when you release a song through a distributor, you basically get a thumbprint, which is an IRSC code and a UPC code. So if there was some kind of software that could track when the thumbprint is used, then maybe people could actually be like, oh, I can like send a docket or something saying that, oh hey, I should actually be paid for this. Like I think that they need to go hand in hand, but like it needs to develop somehow. I don't think that putting the hammer down is the way forward because it's going to cut off a lot of content, but we need to adapt.
Yeah, that's interesting. What do you think, Ritchie?
It's a difficult one because the only people complaining about it really are the artists that are making shitloads of money.
Right.
That's a good point.
In my experience, we put out music for lesser known artists, and YouTube will flag their music on our show. Now they've sent us their music, or their PR company sent it, or the record label sent it, so we have permission to play it. But the algorithm picks it up as, oh, well, this is already on YouTube or something like that. So you can't have this. So that they want us to promote their work, but we can't promote their work because the algorithms won't let us. So it's a difficult one. Yeah, you need some sort of signature on the music so the algorithm can pick up on it. Like if it's a popular piece of work that isn't for promotion purposes, like it's on Vivo or something already, then yeah, it needs a signature so it can be blocked. But otherwise, something needs to be done because there's artists out there with really good music that aren't going to get heard because the algorithms won't let them. As for Twitch and Twitch streaming, it's not. It's mainly kind of like EDM type. You need music. It's not really songs you want in the background. There's a guy, I can't think of his name, YouTube channel called Alpha Gaming.
Oh yeah, Harris Heller. Yeah.
Yeah, he's created I can't think what the project is, but loads and loads of free music for streaming.
Stream Beats, I think is what it's called.
Stream Beats, yeah, that's it. And it's a really good idea. But another good thing is we might be able to get into in the future is these artists, if they could get their, they're lesser known, they want their music heard. Why can't gamers start streaming lesser known music by lesser known artists who aren't going to complain about their music being streamed? So trying to get streamers in touch with the artists who maybe we deal with. There's lots of different options and there's lots of different problems, but how to tackle them, fuck knows.
No, I think that's a really good point because like the Stream Beats by Harris Heller, like actually we play him usually on our intro for while we're kind of warming up the stream. We play that on there because I like that he basically created a whole series of songs that you can play that he's completely given out. He's like, you can use this, it's free use, and he essentially makes money on the ads that play through.
Oh, he makes a shitload of money.
Yeah, he's funding his own music studio now. He's bought a new house. He's got his own, like, he's basically, he spent, I think, upwards of $50,000 to commission this music to be made, and now he's making that money back, and he's putting that into making original content with lyrics in his own studio while also streaming. So he made a nice portion of his business to make that happen. So I was like, kudos to him for doing that, which is really cool. But I think it's interesting because I'm the same way. Like I've never really made anything that anyone's just sort of grabbed and used and put out there without my permission. So, but I can only imagine what that would be like to have something that you've made and have someone playing it, and then it's just sort of it's almost like a commodity that people are using, and you're not getting credit for it, or I don't know. Music has been devalued so much. Part of it I know was from Napster, right? You just download whatever you want for free, and it became this thing that people it was so disposable. And I still don't think we've recovered from that, where people just see music as this thing that just like they can use it whenever they want. And we sort of devalued it in a way, which is very upsetting.
Well, I think Spotify has devalued music.
Yeah, that too, which I want to get into that.
But I think the same thing kind of applies across the board for even photos. Like, how many times do you just grab a photo offline and, you know, use it in something that you're posting? You're like, well, no, someone went out and took that photo, or they put it together if they're a graphic artist or something like that. Same thing with videos, or with, I feel like anything in the art medium over the years, because my guess is because everything has become so much more accessible, and it's just out there, and there's really hard to trace it back. So you never see the person that you're taking it from. You're just like, oh, this just exists online. I'll just grab it and use it too. And then, you know, you do that, then 10 people do that, then 10 more people. And it starts to, you know, then all of a sudden your piece is worthless because it's just everywhere. And I think the internet in and of itself has been a double-edged sword, where you can get more promotion for your stuff and you can get your name out there. But at the same time, it has made anything artistic just disposable.
Yeah. And I think
the fact that
go ahead, Eimear.
Thank you. I was just saying the fact that like art is being called content now. I think it just kind of sums it all up, you know.
What a good point. Are you a content creator or are you an artist? Because they seem like two very different things, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've told the story before, but yeah, go ahead, Ritchie.
Like with podcasts, you know, if somebody came along and started stealing our podcast and put it out everywhere, I wouldn't fucking complain. Put it out everywhere if you want. Put it out all over the place. I'm not going to complain. Put anybody with a channel, feel free to play my podcast. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. It's funny because at some point, that's like, because we probably wouldn't mind either, but there's a point in time where I think if someone's making money off of that, that's where it's like, hold on a second. You're using my content to make money, and then I don't.
Someone should, because I'm fucking not.
You're very generous, Ritchie. You're very generous. I respect that. Now, I've told the story before, but I interned for a minute when I was in grad school at a record label, and it was Victory Records in Chicago. And I remember there was this kid who, like, he's been there a while, and he just had this sense of entitlement, like, I deserve a job at this place. You know, he's like, I've been here, I know the ins and outs. But he also admitted, while we were doing some menial intern work, that he also still downloaded music and pirated it. And I was like, you work at a record label, man. Like, why are you stealing it? He's like, well, I don't have any money, but once I start getting paid, I'll pay for it. I'm like, and this is always what I go back to. Justice probably still hearing this. I'm like, if you order a pizza and you can't pay for it, you don't get to eat the pizza. Like, it's simple as that. But somehow people have got in their minds that they could just take this subjective thing that's not physical and they can consume it and use it for their own purposes without having to pay for it. And I just hate the idea of like, look, man, I'm broke right now, so I will pay it back eventually. I'm like, you don't get it now. I'm sorry, you just don't. That's how it goes. If you don't have money, you don't get to enjoy this thing. Simple as that.
See, I come from a time where I used to put a cassette in a cassette recorder and record the top 40 because I couldn't be. I didn't want to buy the songs. Isn't that the same?
I think it is, but the convenience of a tape. The tape has a lifespan, right? Like, there's a cassette tape. Like, there's only so many times, and the quality is only going to be so good as what you can get it.
You didn't give a shit in the 80s. You didn't care.
Because I look at that sort of stuff as like it is. I also had a friend who growing up would rent a VHS tape, and he would have two TVs, and he would put it in one, and then he would record it on the other. So that as they rented it, they would just like tape them, and so they just created this library of bootleg tapes. Which was, I'm like, all right, I missed, you know. I think the thing was, like, you had to go to great lengths, or at least there was some level of inconvenience, and the quality was lessened by what you did. So I look at that as like, well, I mean, you're getting what you get. Whereas now, the quality is almost exactly the same, which I think
So,
is
Doug,
also more.
What you're saying is that piracy is okay if the level of effort is in direct proportion to the quality of the output.
I know that's how it sounded, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was, people were probably still pissed, but they're like, well, you're getting a lesser version of what the actual thing is. Versus now, you could get an exact replica of the thing that doesn't deteriorate. So you might say, Justin, it's kind of almost like a non-fungible token in some regard,
Well, I was going to go into that because they've started doing that, haven't they? Snoop Dogg did it recently on crypto.com. He released a song as an NFT. Or a couple of songs.
That's all I've heard. Ever since we dipped our toes into this, I hear NFTs everywhere. Everyone's trying to get into the NFT market.
I've got one this week. I've got one given to me. I wasn't going to buy it.
Did you pirate the NFT?
It's a fucking JPEG. It's a JPEG. I could have took a screenshot of it if I wanted it.
But you wouldn't have had the barcode attached to it. We wouldn't have known it was the original.
I wouldn't to give a shit either.
Right. Thank you.
I'm big on cryptocurrency and blockchain. I collect lots of different cryptocurrencies, and I'm well into what the technology can do. I'm well into what NFTs can do, especially when it comes to gaming. If you look at the cryptocurrency engine, what they're doing for gaming is amazing because you're going to be able to buy like different swords or different wearable items and transfer them between games, and it's your item. And if it's you've purchased it, it's your item. It's like you own it and you can sell it. That has a use case. I'm fine with that. But when somebody's selling a fucking JPEG as an NFT, come on, for $60 million fucking dollars, a JPEG went for recently.
It angers me beyond words. I cannot tell you how much I hate that whole news site. And it's probably because, and this is, again, we've talked about this. This is old man Justin coming out. I don't get it, and it scares me. And I don't like it.
What about you, Eimear? You in the NFT market?
She will be now.
It's
a non-fungible token.
Yeah, it's like a certificate of authenticity. Like you own the original thing, and so like things like Jack's first tweet from Twitter, like it was taken and people were
right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I got you. So, but then to be against that is kind of going back to the argument that we were saying that you can so easily just take a screenshot of something, and how easy it is to have art everywhere, and how accessible art is, and how it's so devalued. So now it's actually putting value on art. And it's not free, so it's inconvenient, but actually this relation to our previous conversation.
I might debate you on whether or not Jack's first tweet is
art.
art.
Can you take her off? Can you get rid of her?
Whether or not Jack's first tweet is art is one thing, but hey, art's subjective, I suppose.
But art is subjective. That's the thing, and it's like if I mightn't value Jack's first tweet, but maybe his granny does a lot.
Yeah,
that's
fair. You can fucking buy the NFT then.
Yeah, the value of it is obviously wildly across the board. It varies, but
it's the value, but it's also the fact that just because it doesn't prevent it from being replicated, and the only way to know that it's the original is to have this weird little barcode that you can only see virtually. And like, I think if for that amount of money, if you're paying $60 million or something, like I feel like you just like wipe it off the internet and you have that one copy. I don't understand paying for the one thing if everyone else can still steal the thing. You know what I mean? I think I guess that's where my hang up is.
Yeah. See, I think that it sounds like this is at the very beginning. Like this could be integrated into all software platforms and at a reasonable expense. Like we already have Shutterstock photos, so you pay a $5 and you get the logo removed.
Right.
So maybe it's just something that's going to be like a future thing.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind that at all.
To make livings.
On crypto.com, they're selling these images, these pieces of art by Snoop Dogg, another artist, and you think, oh, piece of art, but I wonder what it looks like. This one-of-a-kind art. Oh, so they've put a picture of it on the screen for me, a digital picture right there for me to look at it. So, what's the difference?
The Shutterstock thing, get like a logo over it.
Yeah,
and
the
then once you
watermark.
buy it,
Yeah.
the logo goes away. We just need to integrate the two. It's all there. It's very exciting. It's all
Yeah,
coming
I
together.
think because
Your
I'd be
point
cool
is
with like
put
a
the
subscription
pieces together.
service like that, right? Like where you pay and you get access to all these sorts of things. Like I'm all for that. I'm all for supporting those things, especially like I do instructional design as my day job, so I do a lot of stock photo. I use a lot of that sort of stuff, and I'm always looking for ways to support the artists or the sites, because there are sites that offer them for free. You just have to provide attribution of whoever used it. But I'm like, is there because some of these are ridiculous. It's like for $50 a month. I'm like, hold on, just chill out there, and we're not doing $50 a month. But I do want to be able to support these things because they're curating a bunch of things. Using stock photography and trying to find the exact picture to fit what you're working on is exhausting. So the fact that some people are putting these together, they're getting people to make just standard B-roll that you can use and things like that. Like I support that stuff, and I don't feel right just taking it and downloading it and being like, well, it's for educational use, so it's technically fair use. But I'm like, still, these are great photos, man. Like I can't do this stuff, so I want to give them credit at least.
I mean,
It's
don't get
annoying
me
though,
wrong, I'm
'cause
a
you might-
complete hypocrite. I will steal all the photos and take screenshots, and if I have to pay for it, I will find an alternative. But that's because there's been such little value placed on it.
Yeah, that's
Which
very
also
true.
time from the internet was free in the beginning, which is amazing. But now it's like, okay, we need to actually start putting value on these things. And
I think we
hate
put
it,
too
but-
much value on everything nowadays. I was like, the podcast are going to this because it was cheap and easy to do. No, it's not. Fuck me. I'm going to use StreamYard to do some streaming and some videos. Well, that's 40 quid a month. And then just the audio alone, if I'm using Clean Feed, well, that's £20 a month. And then edit the videos on Power Director, that's £15 a month. And then other stuff, you've got to pay for fucking everything nowadays. It's just, no, I'm just fed up of paying for stuff. I want free stuff.
No, I get that, right? Because especially it's changing your attitudes towards it, your viewpoint for like, it could be something as simple as like, I really just want a photo and I don't have the ability to go and take this photo, but I need it for what this is. It's just like we've talked about streaming services, right? Like Justin made this really good point a couple episodes ago where, you cut the cord, but that was only really cool for about 6 months because now every freaking thing has a streaming service that's $10, $15 a month, and now you're paying the exact same amount of money for a whole bunch of separate channels. It's just
Right. We're slowly recreating the cable model. That's all we're doing.
I had a PR company contact me a couple of months ago. I mean, bear in mind, what we do is we promote artists who need promoting. They want to get their work out there. So the PR company said, if you pay us a certain amount of money, I can't remember what it was, we'll send you artists to promote. That makes no fucking sense at all. They want us to pay to promote someone else.
They want you to pay a cost on to do what you already do.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
It's their own subscription service.
They should be paying me. Yeah. They should be paying me to promote them. But no, I've got to pay them so I can promote them. But that makes no fucking sense.
I do think it's funny because as long as as successful as podcasts have been, I feel like there's still a group of greasy people out there that don't understand. They don't bring value to what you're doing, but they try to think that they are. They're like, all right, so here's what we're gonna do. They go to someone that's already really prolific, like, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna help you get sponsors. They're like, dude, I already have sponsors. Like, what do you want? Like, if for us that'd be great. It's like, hey, we're gonna help you get sponsors. We don't have sponsors, but someone who's prolific and they want to come to the table, they're basically like, they don't have any ideas of how they can improve what's going on. And this is a perfect example of that. All right, Richie, here's what we're gonna do. All right, I got this for you. You pay us and we will give you artists that you can then promote. You're like, how's that different from what I already do? Well, this time you pay us and then we get you artists that you can then promote. It's like, cool, thank you.
And then you got other people, and they'll email you. Oh, if you give us so much a month, we'll build up your Twitter. And I've looked at their Twitter. They've got like 5 followers. I've got 35,000. You've got 5 followers. What the fuck are you going to do for me?
Yeah, right. Or the robot followers, right? They're like, hey, just all you gotta do is just retweet and reply to my stuff, and we'll blast. I'm like, I'm not giving you engagement, so you can just fart my stuff out into the ether. Like, no, thank you. I can do that on my own. Thanks.
Well, Richie, the reason that they only have 5 followers is because they're so busy promoting everyone else. So that's
sounds
why
like bullshit to me.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to follow them because it's just spam all the time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I think would be interesting, though, with the technology that is going into the NFTs and with blockchain and all that, I think you two had talked about potentially doing some sort of a thumbprint on a song or something when it's used. I feel like that technology has to be able to be baked in using that like blockchain technology.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
just something anywhere online when that just pops up, it triggers something and it goes right to an account and it says, hey, claim this or dispute it or something. I feel like that's some way that I could see this being used that I could totally get on board with because I understand it. Makes me feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think that would be great, right? Because talk about it'd also be great for tracking, just to see how, from a metric standpoint, how often is your stuff being viewed and utilized and accessed. Right. Like, I mean, that's just could be, bundled and sold as different opportunities for like, hey, this is how popular my content is. As an independent artist, I think that would be so useful. It's kind of like, with podcasts, we are able to track the downloads and things like that, which is like, cool. Right. How are we doing? Versus, hey, I put this song up on Spotify. I mean, I guess I can see how many plays it got, but beyond that, if it's on YouTube, also I can kind of see. But there's so many. I think it's like ghost plays that you don't even know about. It'd be nice to be able to track that and stamp that and also be like, hey, if you have someone representing you, they go to any time that's been accessed and be like, hey, just so you know, you use this. Or there's a note that says, do you want to use this? Please, it gives you contact information to whomever and lets them know, hey, this is the person that owns. That would be so useful from a music supervision standpoint, right? You click on a song, it's like it immediately tells you who owns the master and the publishing rights. Like that would be as someone who was briefly a music supervisor, I'm like, oh, it was such a nightmare trying to figure out who owned the rights. It was awful.
Yeah.
That's where blockchain's going, isn't it? You should do that, Eimear. You should create an NFT song and only create 1,000 versions of it and then sell them.
I'm going to write that
just
down.
to piss Justin off.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I'll buy one.
Awesome, thank you. That's one sale. But that's kind of on royalty collection, things like ASCAP and IMRO and that kind of thing. Like, really, they should be the one developing this and having it online, because when you release a song, you register with them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't it be great if they kind of turned around and started like making that as a service?
Well, even,
absolutely.
The RIAA, which I both like and hate at the same time, because I like the fact that they're trying to protect artists, but kind of like what Ritchie said, they're all about the people that make the big bucks. Right. And I don't like how they bring the hammer down on. They do the wrong thing for the right reasons, like in with the Napster time, how they went after individual people to make an example and to punish them. Where I was like, I think you're treating the symptom and not the disease. Like, you're just trying to sow fear, and that typically doesn't work. Especially with piracy, nah. People, pirates gonna pirate, man. Like they're gonna do that stuff. And when I see that, whenever I see the RIA, I'm like, I know you're trying to do something, but I think it's for you're doing the wrong thing, man. Like it's not the way to go about it to just sort of attack people. I mean, you got to have some sort of authority behind you or some sort of threat of some ability, but. Do you understand the landscape of things? Do you understand why people are doing things? Do you need to change your business model? Is that what you need to influence? Because, the whole thing that the reason why Napster was so big was because CDs were $20 for a CD that maybe had one or two good songs on it. People were like, man, this sucks. I don't like it. But they were just raking in the money. It was so big. They were just being, and people, they saw there was a trend for people to go and download music, but they refused to go after it. And so someone else just did it. Made it convenient, and then all hell broke loose. And I'd still argue that we're still reeling from that today. And I think people they're so slow to react to what's going on in the world around them that it's part of me is like, yeah, fuck you. You got screwed over here because you deserve it because you weren't paying attention. But on the other side of it, I'm like, don't steal, people. This isn't good.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the music industry and the politics, I know I can make a big difference if I just cared.
Sensing a lot of apathy over there.
Like issue, it's that the music industry nowadays in streaming, it's actually designed to just feed itself with these algorithms and everything. And it's like, even like I sent music to like Warner Brothers here in Ireland, and the first thing that they get back was, oh hey, like listen, thanks for reaching out. Just so you know, the first thing that we check is your Instagram following. So how many followers do you have? They
Oh,
won't
this
even
shit,
listen
this
to the
shit on
music.
Instagram.
Wow.
Yeah, and then when you're submitting, like, so it's like anytime you're researching, okay, how do I make it on? How do I crack Spotify? They say, okay, well, submit to our playlist, but Spotify will only listen to your submission, and it'll only like register if you have a certain amount of streams and listeners already. So, like, so they sign a couple artists, they pump the money into them, they put them everywhere, and then they all own the same, like all the radio stations are owned by a conglomerate, so
Mhm.
they just play the same music over and over again so that they're just getting the money back, and there's just no chance for smaller artists to break in unless, I don't know, unless they get like, I mean, but what I do love is that TikTok has made the playing field a little bit more even, because you just never know when one song's going to take off, you know, so there are little chances and there's opportunities coming up,
Right.
but like for the most part it's impossible for like young artists, I think.
I mean, you said that, Eimear, but there's like one or two lesser known artists that you can think of that have made it on TikTok. When you compare it to the billions of people that are on TikTok, it's not that great a playing field, really. It's just another place where people can get ignored, I think.
Well, it's kind of like YouTube, right? Because
Both.
YouTube had a couple moments where people broke, like the Biebers of the world, you know, that made it popular on YouTube. But it seems like there's this window of time where it's truly this open frontier where anything's possible, and then the powers that be come in and they start building walls, and they're like, cool, well, we're gonna still create gates, and we're gonna own the keys to these gates, so you still gotta go through us.
We're going to change the algorithms.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so you can sort of, if you're lucky, you can break through that barrier, but then they change the locks after that, and then you know, you may have made it through, but it's so difficult for anyone else to get through. And I think part of that is, and this is maybe optimistic or naive or whatever, but I also look at it as, you got to make stuff because you want to. You know, you can't necessarily be like, I'm going to make this to make it big. You know, we all do podcasts. We know what that's like, right? It's a labor of love, you know? It
is, but I would say that because we often do say that, and I do agree with that, where you have to love what you do, and you've got to want to do it because you want to do it and not to be rich and famous. But I would say that there's the other side of it, is that it's not wrong to want a career out of it, to be able to make just a living, to be able to live on a thing. And I think that a lot of people conflate the two, where they're just like, well, you just, if all you want is the money, it's like, well, no, it's not all I want is the money, but I want money. I want to be able to live for doing this thing that you are consuming. Like, if all musicians just stop making music, everyone would go, well, where's the music? And they would just flip out. But they don't want to pay. So I think there's the idea of rich and famous, but then there's the idea of just living. It's a career, and doing it and making it, making enough to get by. And I think that the fact that, you know, they look at how many Instagram followers you have and how easy is it, like, fuck all of that. Like, is the music good? Is this marketable?
Yeah.
Can we pump this out and people will find it and like it? Because that's why I'm coming to you, Warner. I'm coming to you because I need your fucking PR machine behind me so I can get more followers and people listening to my music. It's such a it seems like such a backwards way to look at things, you know?
Yeah. Especially because you can be really good at social media, but it doesn't mean your music's good. But then
Absolutely.
they're the ones that
Oh,
get
that's such a
picked up,
good
you know?
point, right? Like, oh, yeah. It's like the people who know the SEO stuff, right? They know how to work the algorithms to get seen, which just now I've realized recently, thanks to our producer who is very versed in that, we've seen some success in views because of things like that. But it's just, I make me wonder, I'm like, man, for people who don't know how that works, which is, by the way, I'm one of those people, how many great things are sort of left in the dust or in the unknown bin because they just can't get in front of people. I mean, that's probably life in general, right? That's always been any sort of art, is how do you get it in front of people who can appreciate it. But now more than ever, you can have wonderful content, but if you don't know the right keywords to put on your website or in your notes or your write-up or whatever, like, no one's ever going to find you. And it's kind of scary to think about how much power exists in that field. Wild.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a whole thing on its own. And then like nowadays, like as like an independent podcast or independent artist or something, like you have to know all of it. And it's so much. You're not supposed to know all that stuff. Like how? Like why did it explode?
Right. This is why big artists have teams behind them who they've got their PR team and their social team and their whatever team, because for one individual to know all this and then still have time to focus on creating the art, it just doesn't exist. Like it's that what's the old Greek mythology where you're rolling the stone up the hill and then you get to the top and it rolls back down and you got to start all over again.
Pythagorean theorem.
That's probably it. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that is what it is to be an artist nowadays.
Sure.
Why was he pushing the ball up the hill in the first place?
I think he was like he was punished. I think is what it was. Like his thing was he had to roll this boulder up the hill every day, and then every day like it rolled back down.
Yeah. It's just endless. But then I mean, in saying that, it's always kind of been like that, you know. I just think that there's less I don't know. Like it's always been hard work to get seen by people, but I think that it's not really the same where it's like you can.
Yeah, it's easier now than it used to be. Eimear, you're too young to remember, but when I was in the band,
probably wasn't even born at that
for people to hear my music when I was in the band, I had to go play gigs and I had to go and sell or give out CDs. Now you've got millions and millions of people that can access your music straight away. I never had that.
Yeah.
And it was even harder then. The only problem is, as time's gone on, even more people are doing music, and more. The problem is, there's so many people out there. You just get lost in the crowd, and it doesn't matter how good you can be, the best artist in the world. And I've come across some amazing artists, and they're never going to get heard because they're just lost in a sea of shit. And
40,000 songs are uploaded daily.
Ugh.
That's insane.
And that's why you're not getting heard. It's not because of the music industry. It's because of how many people, and a lot of it is absolutely fucking awful. And it's just creating a blanket that's there's good stuff in there, but you can't see it through all the shit.
Yeah.
I know because I get a lot of it, and most of it's hip hop. Because what happens is you get somebody who can't do music and they can't sing, and they think, well, I'd still like to do it. So what I'll do is I'll just talk over a beat, but I can't create a beat either. So I'll pay someone to make a beat for me, and then I'll talk over it, but I can't produce anything. And so much of that out there, I'm getting pissed off talking about it.
Quality control, but then at the same time, it's like you can't. I don't think we should be able to dictate who can and can't access it, since it's.
I think we should be able to. Yeah, I think we should.
No quality control.
I think there should be, because, like I say, there's good music and good artists not getting heard because you can't hear them through all the other dog shit.
Well, here's the thing now, because the cool thing now is that AI can create the music for you, right?
Yes.
Recently,
against computers,
right?
Because
hey, it just was released that 27 years after Kurt Cobain's death, they used AI software to create a new Nirvana song, and so they
sounded more coherent as well.
So they essentially fed like 30 songs of Nirvana songs into this AI. And the AI analyzed it and then was able to create a track. And then they had a Nirvana guy who does Nirvana cover band sing some lyrics to it. And they did this with several artists who basically had either overdosed or committed suicide or something like that as a way of sort of like, hey, we're going to, repurpose what this is.
Can't argue, you mean?
Exactly. And it was interesting because I listened to a little bit of the song. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds like Nirvana, but it's not Nirvana. And I also am willing to bet that Kurt Cobain would fucking hate that you're doing this right now. Like, he would not.
Yeah, true.
He would not be cool with this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm fully neutral on this, but I'm just like, I don't like that this is kind of where it's coming from. I mean, I guess if we could get that next real banger of a song out there, and people are like, this is amazing. It's like, did you know that AI built this? That'll be a scary moment, right?
I thought it was weird how it was incoherent, just like Nirvana's music. I listened to Smells Like Teen Spirit, God knows how many thousands of times, and still to this day, I don't know what the lyrics are. I've read the lyrics, and I still don't know what they are. When I listen to it, I've read the lyrics while I'm listening to it, going, "Nah, that's not what he's singing at all."
Right.
But,
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, right.
What
I-
was that movie? Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
What was that movie about? The robots, and then the actor was like, "Oh, well, can you write a symphony?" And the robot was like, "Oh, can you?" But now robots can write symphonies. So
Right.
Yeah, they can also write scripts for movies now through AI, technology. They also are
And
writing the
Nirvana
news, because that's the AI is just kind of like filtering through that, which I don't know. Is it useful? Maybe, but it's also
This is
scary.
great. My thing
humans
to it
are
is-
gonna
are they writing anything original, or are they just imitating what's already been done?
But aren't we all doing that?
Oh,
Not really, no, because it had to have come from somewhere in the first place. Someone had to be
Yeah,
in,
but you get inspiration from things, right? You didn't know, you wouldn't have started a podcast.
the
if you didn't
first
know the
person who ever
podcast.
did it didn't.
wow. That was pretty wild. So what we need is a human to create something, and then the AI can just fill out all the rest. Is that what we're doing?
So,
I guess
Yeah.
my whole thing is just why?
yeah.
That
Humans are
why?
gonna be
Why do we need?
ridiculous.
Why do we need this? We don't need this. There's so many better things that we can
Shut
use AI for. Why?
You say
just-
that, Doug.
We
You
could
say that,
save
but
the
that
ocean.
song's gone on my playlist.
Well, here's the thing too, Justin. AI is now going to make non-fungible tokens. So what do you think about that?
Fuck you. Tell you what I think of it. No, I don't like
He
it.
says no. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like the thing about AI that I find appealing is that it can take the mundane tasks and it can simplify it, and it can hopefully we can take something that's mundane and we don't have to spend our mental capacity on it to do something better. But when it comes to creativity, I mean, I don't know, like because that to me is like I'm definitely in Ritchie's camp in the sense of if a human manufactures something, like if you got, not to dump on them because they just get dumped on, but like Nickelback, right? They're known for like, yeah, we're gonna play the same song, use the same notes, it's gonna be exactly the same. Like that's there we go. Thank you, Justin. They're gonna we play 0.7 seconds, so it's totally cool.
I love
So
that you have that.
But-
Yes, grab.
It's just enough to get into your head, and then you're
Yeah.
like, "Damn it!" Yeah.
yeah. But if a human's doing that, it's like, yeah, okay. Are they a piece of shit? Maybe. Are they playing the game? Maybe. But if all we get is music generated by computers because they've been fed a certain formula, that just seems to me it would just take all of the fun and joy out of something that's artistic, and it just doesn't feel good to me.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I guess again, if the point was to bring, like, why do you need to have? Why couldn't you just bring people together and say, "Hey, write a song that sounds like Nirvana," and then this dude's gonna sing it because he kind of sounds like Kurt Cobain. Ta-da! Why do we need AI to write it? I don't understand the why. I think again, like this is purely just for it's just to make headlines. That's the only thing they were doing this for, because again, there are so many other things that we could have AI working on right now that would benefit humanity outside of writing a Forever 27 album.
Yeah.
Like-
Your point. But
No.
to argue,
Please.
is the AI creating music not also art?
I like Eimear on this podcast.
Hmm.
She's the devil's advocate to Justin's devil's advocate. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Like
This
who
is-
are we
yeah.
to say that AI isn't creating art because it was actually made from something and it formulated something.
But is it creating art or is it just imitating art?
I think it's imitating because it's been programmed
Well,
to
but
take to learn off everybody else and what's already
life
out
imitates
there.
art.
It's not original.
Are you
Life
saying
what?
AI is
Life
alive?
imitates
You saying it
art.
has life?
Now we're getting into the whole does AI have consciousness? Now we're into the Ex Machina thing.
See, this is the same thing Justin had a problem with when they were bringing back James Dean as a hologram in a movie. He's like,
Yes.
this is, you actually have someone that's going through and acting, but they're just putting a skin of James Dean over them. And it's like, this isn't James Dean. This is a computer that's generating the likeness of James Dean. And I don't know, maybe the AI can get to a point where we can feed every song that's ever been created into this machine. And we say, take everything. I'm talking everything from the Romanian polka to your hip hop to your Celtic metal to everything that's ever been created, and we funnel it into this one program. We say you have access to every piece of content. I'm sorry, every piece of art ever created, and then please create something new based on, put all these things together. I might have a different opinion on that. Maybe I don't know. I'd be curious to see what it puts out if it combines these elements we never thought possible. Or, puts in instrumentation, if we've got the hurdy-gurdy, that instrument just gets played and we're like, oh my God, a hurdy-gurdy solo. I never would have thought of that, to have this playing with this X, Y, and Z. And we create something from that and the AI creates something. I'd be interested to see that. Like that interests me greatly.
I'll tell you what it would come up with.
What?
I think it goes back to the whole cogito ergo sum, the Descartes thing. I think, therefore I am, and I've created art because I am. If an AI is doing it, you're doing it not because you are, but you're doing it because I am, and I've created you. So anything that comes from it is come from us. So is it really it doing it, or is it us doing it because we've created that which is creating this? In a sense,
So I guess the computer
we
programmers,
become God.
Are they the one creating the art then? The developers.
Is this who came first, the chicken or the egg, man?
Oh God.
Man.
Oh God. Oh no.
AI.
Are we in a simulation?
Oh dear, coming on this show, my head's hurting now.
Oh man, that's wild.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point, right? Because so much of what we create, especially, comes from a place of emotion, of experience. Some of the most powerful songs have come from people taking what they've experienced and putting it into this audible format that brings something to it. Can an AI replicate that? Because I'm willing to bet it could sophisticatedly do it, because it would have access. Again, if we took my scenario, it has access to everything. It could probably create something. And if we didn't know it was AI created, would we be able to be like, this sounds like, would we be able to, would it still have the same influence? And now I bet if we knew after the fact, oh, by the way, a computer built this, we would feel differently about it. But if we didn't know,
Right.
and we had it and we listened to it and we like, wow, I feel that's really powerful. Would it still matter at that point in time? Is ignorance blitz?
Yeah. Like if the AI is taking music and inspiration from things that were written by musicians, those musicians put their soul into that. So it is taking from collective recording.
Somebody else's soul.
It's borrowing a little bit of soul here and there,
Borrowing a little soul. So then that kind of does validate its emotions, but it's not its own emotions. It's from the emotions that it's learned about.
Oh man.
AI can eat a bag of dicks. I've got no time.
Again, there's no need for it. Like, just stop.
Yeah, that's again. Red West said.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's needed, unless this is like, we need to teach it this so it can teach us something else. This is kind of like a stepping stone to something else, but I don't know what that next thing would be. So I don't know. I got nothing.
There was
actually.
Go ahead, please.
No, sorry, go on.
No,
you go.
Nope.
Oh,
She's going to be an awful episode to edit. This is. Fucking hell.
Well, I was saying that with DistroKid or distribution companies, this kind of thing. So bring it back to to that. You can't even contact customer service anymore. It's like FAQs. So it's like that's someone who could have been helping. It's just becoming so unpersonal, and people are like losing jobs, and it's like, when's it gonna stop? Like humans need jobs, and like we need to. AI is just stealing everything. Like, it's mad. And not stealing, we're making it, but we're not making it.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said where I personally prefer talking to a machine for sort of basic help with stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather be able to. I'm the guy that if I'm in a department store or something and I can't find it, I'm like, I'm going to look and see if I can find it first before I ask for help, because I'm just stubborn. But same thing, like if I'm trying to, troubleshoot, I want to see if I can find the solution first before I talk to people, because I hate talking to people. So that's that's kind of how I am with things. So I don't like chatbots, but I definitely don't mind going through the resources first to see if I can figure it out. And then, so in that regard too, like I worked in customer service. Justin has too. Dealing with the same questions all the time, every single day. Is that really a job? Or is that slowly depleting your life force and aging you at a rate that is unconscionable and honestly deplorable to the human species?
Fair.
I personally, I always try to find a solution for everything myself now, because I get fed up. I already know that if I got a problem or an issue, I'm going to get referred to the fuck you anyway, the FAQ. And so you might as well just figure everything out yourself. Yeah. And but I understand why they do it, because, with big companies, that they can't handle every stupid little problem. I don't know. But yeah, I don't like being referred to the fuck you because they don't like my question.
That's fair too. There is one AI generated song that I do think is worthwhile. I do think it's catchy, and I like to play it at least for myself about once a week, and it goes a little something like this.
Welcome to the Throwdown.
Woo! That's an original one. We don't have to pay for anything on that.
Did you explain what the Throwdown is? Or are they coming into this blind?
Welcome to the Throwdown. So this is the part of the show where we take two things and we put them against each other. They enter an arena, and we have to debate which one is going to come out alive. So this week is a very special one in honor of our guests. We definitely wanted to be inclusive here. So Justin, roll the drums. So this week, the Throwdown is between Captain America versus Captain Britain. So,
Captain Ireland.
A leprechaun with a cape.
So for let's see here. How familiar are you all with Captain America and Captain Britain?
Who the fuck's Captain Britain? Really? I found out about him an hour ago, and he's got all the powers that Captain America doesn't have. He's amazing. Why did we not hear about him before? He can fly and all manner of shit, can't he?
Yeah.
He's more comparable to Captain Marvel than Captain America.
Very true. That's very true. Yeah, Eimear, what about you? You familiar with Captain Britain?
Thankfully not.
Thankfully not.
Fucking thankfully not. You're still part of the British Isles, even though you're in Ireland.
It's just Boris Johnson with a mask.
Don't.
We made you. We made you.
You stole us.
Ooh, I want to see where this goes.
History here, okay? Careful now. Careful. Tread lightly. But anyway, I did a little bit of research on Captain Britain, and I do think that he would be Captain America because he's got way more powers.
Yeah, he's significantly powerful here. Let's start with Captain America.
What's the tail of the tape there, Doug?
All right, so Captain America, obviously, as the super soldier serum in him, it gives him artificially enhanced physiology. So he's got peak human strength.
Steroids.
So yes, he's basically on steroids. He can sustain lift 800 pounds or 363 kilograms, and can bench press 1,100 pounds or 500 kilograms as a warm up. So he's very powerful. Peak human speed. He can run at about 30 miles per hour, 48 kilometers per hour. And he's durable, so he's very durable. He's got peak human agility. He's like the peak human in every possible way for like reflexes, stamina, recovery. He also has advanced longevity. He's a great tactician, a great strategist. He's a phenomenal martial artist. He's a master shield fighter because he's got a shield.
You just sat there describing me.
So, I mean, he's also, according to this website, a professional sketch artist. Didn't know that. Lesser known fact about Steve Rogers.
All right. And he makes a mean omelet, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's a heck of an omelet. He's a big egg guy.
Yeah.
So he's like the peak human being. Captain Britain has, he's interdimensional energy conduit. So basically, he's got superpowers at this point in time. He's got superhuman strength. So at his peak, he's able to lift approximately 90 tons. So obviously way more than, 1,100 pounds.
How is this a competition?
I don't think at this point that it's going to be quite honest with you. Superhuman stamina, superhuman durability.
Because they're both the same rank in the military.
Yeah, right? He can fly. He's capable of surpassing the speed of sound, which is 770 miles per hour. Superhuman reflexes, agility, senses. His strength level is...
I just read down to his weaknesses.
His confidence.
What the fuck? His powers are based on his confidence.
So here's the thing.
So all Steve Rogers has to do is just be like...
Didn't used to be. That's a new thing. His powers used to be based on his amulet. Eimear pointed out earlier to me. But now they've changed it to, I'm not feeling very confident today, so I'm shit.
Yeah. It used to be based on his uniform.
So Captain America...
If I was him, I'd be taking cocaine every day.
So yeah, if Captain America is a strategist, he just be like, we've got to get to his confidence. How do we hurt his confidence? We make fun of him nonstop.
Right.
Your mom was never really proud of you, was she?
You're not from here. He turns into some guy from the South. You're not from here, buddy.
You ginger prick.
You're not from Britain. How do you call yourself Captain Britain? That ain't right. So it used to be his uniform. If he didn't have his uniform on, he didn't have his powers, but now it's confidence. So that's the only big weakness is confidence. And it's something that, maybe Captain America could exploit. I don't know,
I'm just gonna put it out there that if I know I can fly at the speed of sound, I can lift anything. I'm pretty much Superman at this point.
That's a fair thing.
How can I not be confident? What have I not? I can have whatever I want, whoever I want. How can you not? I feel like I can't achieve much. No, he's never going to feel like that.
Sure.
Never.
What if Captain America sends him an email and is like, "Hey, listen, we're gonna have to fight, all right? But just know," he gives him a list of all the things that he stands for, and just knows that by fighting him, he may be doing the wrong thing, and he gets in his head. If they just straight up meet and it throws down, Captain America's toast. I mean, Captain Britain's also got genius intelligence levels, so I mean, this guy will absolutely annihilate him. So the only way that Captain America could potentially thwart his death would be to somehow send him an email in advance. That might enrage him. I don't know if that's going to affect his confidence. That might just,
Or his wife would probably be better. I had it off with your wife, and she said She said I was better than you. That would do it. That would definitely do it.
Confidence.
So Captain America goes in disguise into Captain Britain's life and becomes his best friend, and just slowly starts pushing everyone around him away, and then deprecating on himself, and get in there from the inside, and then.
Can I Eimear, you're evil.
This is the plan for the podcast. Yes, exactly.
Wow, it's working. She's like, trust me, this works.
This works. This is a proven strategy. No,
Neil's left. Wayne's leaving. What the fuck's going on, Eimear?
I don't know, Richie. They probably left because of you.
It's happening.
Oh,
that was just
my
an
goodness.
example. I wouldn't actually do that.
It's happening.
Oh,
we're watching it happen. This is amazing.
Hypothetically.
Theoretically speaking.
Man. Well, okay, so look, if Steve had that kind of runway and he was working with that, I don't know if there's but are we talking? So I guess we have to set the parameters. Was this the long con all the time, or are they just like they both rounded a corner, they had coffees, they bumped into each other, coffee spilled, and now they're pissed at each other?
Yeah, if that situation, Captain America loses 100% of the time. And even if he plays the long con with it, I still think there's a significant chance he'll lose if he doesn't play it exactly right. So
unless he's played by Eimear, in which case,
sure success. So I think I'm leaning towards Captain Britain all the way.
I was told by Wayne that there was more. There's Captain Britain and there's like other jurisdictions as well. So you got like Captain Birmingham, Captain London. You've got apparently there's lots of different captains according to the comics.
Do they all roll up to Captain Britain though?
I have no fucking idea.
Interesting. So in regards to this, we're saying Captain Britain.
That was awesome. Excellent. Very good. Wow. So what a show. This has been phenomenal. Thank you, Ritchie, and thank you, Eimear, for hanging out with us and taking the time to not only talk music, but talk nonsense. That's our wheelhouse, our bailiwick, if you will. So now this is the part of the show where we like to give you an opportunity to obviously promote your whatever you've got going on, promote your social medias, and also recommend anything. If there's music, movie, book, TV show, anything that you would recommend that you think people should check out, please, the floor is yours. Start with Eimear.
Shepherd's pie.
Okay, shepherd pie. There we go.
Delicious dish.
Eimear, we'll start with you.
Okay, can I? Well, if you don't mind, you guys could check out my song called "Sunrise" by myself, EMR. It actually has placed as a finalist in the Great American Song Contest, so that was kind of some cool news. And then obviously check out the podcast. You haven't heard this music podcast. Follow us on Twitter, our website, social medias. I'm gonna pass it over to Ritchie.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, and shepherd's pie. You like shepherd's pie?
Good job.
You could check out the Adapted to Screen podcast, my new podcast. We had Scott Capurro on the other week. I don't know if you know who Scott Capurro is.
Mm-mm.
No, he's an actor comedian. He was in Miss Doubtfire. You know the two brothers.
Oh right, yeah.
He was one of the brothers. We had him on talking about Miss Doubtfire in the book, and it's all right. It's just a little side project I'm doing. But mainly, you haven't heard this music podcast. Come and check us out, and yeah, that's about it, really.
That's awesome. Eimear, one more time. What was the name of that song?
Sun Arise.
Okay.
Not the Rolf Harris one, because Rolf Harris did Sunrise as well.
Gotcha.
Oh, really? Yeah, well, make sure that EMR is there then. Thank you.
Amazing. Justin, what do you got to recommend this week?
On Amazon Prime, check out Invincible. It's the TV show based off the comic by Robert Kirkman, and it is real. It's got an insane voice cast to it, and it is. I was surprised at how much. I remember Seth saying like, "Damn you, Doug! I stayed up till 4 a.m. watching everything because it just kept dragging me into the next one." And it does. I consumed, I think, 3 episodes in one day, and I was full on into it. So, Invincible on Amazon Prime. Check it out. Doug, what do you got?
Excellent. I highly recommend that. I also recommend a lesser, I think, celebrated film. It's on HBO Max. It's King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, directed by Guy Ritchie. It's a fun take on the King Arthur legend, and I rewatched it yesterday, and I was like, I think this is a good movie. I don't think it got the love it deserved. I think it was going to be like a franchise, and I'm like, I'd love to see what comes next, and they were like, nah, didn't do good. And I'm like, I don't know. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. It's very enjoyable.
There you go.
Speaking of Guy Ritchie, isn't he directing the Captain Britain film?
He could be. Beats
Probably.
me.
I think he might be.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love the editing style like that he brings to the table. It's just very engaging and interesting the way he tells a story. So it's a fun film. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a fun one. It's a really good movie. There's things happen where I'm like, you know what? I don't know how that got there, but I'm not mad at it. I'm okay. I'm okay with this. This is cool. This is fun. Jude Law's in it. Charlie Hunnam's in it. You got a lot of great folks that are in it. It's totally worth checking out. So, speaking of stuff you should check out, be sure to check out Mind Gap Podcast on all our social medias at Mind Gap Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mind Gap Podcast. Check out our YouTube channel, Mind Gap Podcast. We post all of our episodes there, as well as highlights from the show and our streams. And please be sure to check us out Tuesdays 8 p.m. Central and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central Time on our Twitch channel. Tuesdays we typically do our podcast live, except for today was a special one. We did it on a Sunday. And then Saturdays we do our video game stream, which will include the Dungeons & Dragons, the fantasy board game with Justin and pals this coming Saturday. So be sure to come hang out, check that out. And Justin can be found digitally as well.
That's true. Instagram and Twitter at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Verbal, Podbean, all the places you find and consume the podcasts. You can share us, subscribe, rate, review, all those things. The big one is sharing. Just copy the link, share it out, tell people, hey, these guys are cool. You should listen to them. It would mean us a lot. It would mean a lot to us, or it would mean us a lot. However you speak, it's fine. We don't judge. Also, 2east8th.com/mindgap, and then keep an eye on all of 2east8th stuff because we got things. We got things coming.
Yay!
The backer screening of Sid Penrose should be coming in the next 2 weeks, and after that, it's the wide release. So you've only heard me been pitching this for about 2 years. So
Can't
yay.
wait.
Yeah.
So exciting. Once again, Ritchie, Eimear, thanks so much for hanging out with us. This was an absolute delight. And of course, you're always welcome to come back.
Thank you.
Next week, yeah.
Next week it is.
Done.
So with that being said, I'd like to say, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Twitch, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Peace.
Mind Gap Podcast.